everyone. In this lecture we will see how we can create an API using FastAPI in Python. We will see everything from the scratch only. So first I'm going to install a Python. So for installing Python, you write python install, and then in the results you will go to the first result and download the latest Python. Second thing is to go with the IDE part. Then for that I would suggest go for the PyCharm, and there's a community version available there. You can just download this community version and actually start using it. So both the things are already in my system, and if you see, if I go with the command prompt and search for the Python, so as you can see, this is Python -- version, so it shows 3.12.3 version already installed in the system. So now let's open the PyCharm, which I have already installed. So PyCharm will look like this. So let's create a new project, and here if you have not installed the Python, then you can go with the Python version here, and directly this will ask for you to search for any Python, and you can install it from here automatically if there is no other Python. But since I have already installed, so I'll use that only. So this is my new terminal in which I am going to create a new file. I will name this file as let it be controller or let it be main controller. So where I will be writing the APIs. So for writing an API, first thing I need to install FastAPI. For that, using pip command package installer in Python, I will install the FastAPI. So for that, you directly need to write pip install FastAPI. As you can see, this is already in the system, so it has been downloaded. If it would not have been in the system, it would have taken a little bit time. So for first thing, I need to import the FastAPI, and for that I will write from FastAPI import FastAPI. So FastAPI is the package, and I'm importing the FastAPI file, as you can see from the description or the code which is written. Next thing is to create an API object using FastAPI, and using this API object or this app object, I'm going to create the APIs. So for that, I'm going to call app.getPart. For that, the app.get, inside this, I will write the URL. So let it be the base URL only. So whatever the IP will be there, I will hit that IP with the port, and this API will execute. First thing is to write the definition of the function, and next thing is the definition along with the function name. So let it be the test first API as a test API. So I will return here as a JSON part, that is data as test API success. So this will be returned in the response. Now this, as you can see, the first API has already been created. Next thing I need to do is to start this API. For starting the API, we don't run generally the Python command or Python. We don't start as a Python, but we start with uvcon. For that, I'm going to install pip install uvcon, and uvcon is already there, so it has already been installed. Now let's start this API using uvcon. For starting, you need to write the command uvcon, and then you need to provide the file name, so main, then the method name, or you can say the app object which you have used. So this is the main, then app, then you can provide the port if you want to start on some other port. Otherwise, you can directly write uvcon main app. As you can see, the main is not the file name. Main controller is the file name. So I'm going to provide here main controller and run it. After running, as you can see, it will start at port number 9090. So this has started at this API 12019090. So as you can see, this data is already coming as a test API data. Now second thing, let's start with some better API versions in which we will be taking some data from the request. So let's take some user by ID. So here I'm writing user hyphen by ID, and in this braces I will provide the ID of the user. This is a brace here, but this will not be used in the URL. Directly the ID will be provided here. So I am writing the definition as test user, and this test user will return data along with the ID of user. So I'm going to check whether this ID is something like ID as integer. Let it be for now. ID I'm writing here as int, and if ID comes out to be 123, let it be 123, then I'm going to return a message that the user is this with ID this. So for that, let me return the message that I'm going to write user is Sumit, let it be my name, and with ID as the ID which has been passed in the request. So that is the ID. So I'm writing colon here, and now I need to restart this review const since I have not provided the command of restarting. So I'm going to restart it. If I'm not able to find the user, then I will return error as user is not found, something like that. So not a correct user. So let me restart this API and or you can say this project so that this API will be called from the user by ID through ID, and this ID will check whether this is a correct user or not. So since user by ID fails, then this will not come because I have not provided the restart command. So details not found, it is saying this is saying 404 because I have not restarted. So this the ID is here, but it has not been called. Let me restart it again. Now this will be called, and when I will provide this again, so it says not a correct user. Why? Because one is being checked as a 1 2 3, but it is not there. So when I said 1 2 3, it gave me an error because I have not typecasted this to string. Now I have typecasted to str. Now let me again restart it. This is saying let's go with the first, this is not a correct user, then go to 1 2 3, and now it will say user is Sumit with ID 1 2 3. This is how the FastAPI works. This is very easy to use. You just need to install using pip and start using get and other methods for API creation. Thank you all.